Last night on the road, we saw the Phoenix Suns put forth a 132 offensive rating for the game, which ballooned to 136.4 in the fourth quarter exclusively, which ballooned to 169.2 specifically in the last 6 minutes and 36 seconds of this game. Where the team went 7 for 8 from the field, including 5 of 6 from deep. And if we zoom in even more, in the clutch, being the last 5 minutes of this game, they put forth the 160 offensive rating, while holding Oklahoma City to a 109.1 in this same stretch of the game at the most crucial point, which is an insane net rating of 51. It's just utterly dominant. Again, doing so on the road. And if you want to throw the cherry on top, is that Devin Booker didn't even take a shot in the fourth quarter, meaning a free throw, field goal attempt, generally, or even a three-pointer. He didn't take any attempts at the basket. He hardly even looked at the basket, if my memory serves me right. And that just speaks to the space that this team is in, the true potential that they have, and where they are as far as their process in terms of ingratiating their many star and elite and all-time level skill sets into one process. Everybody's bought into the system. There's no ego involved with any of the shots or decision-making in general. And it continues to show up in waning moments, especially in these 6 games that we've seen Kevin Durant play in. And just for the ultimate one, they were a +4 in the box score in the clutch. So let's go ahead and just dive into a handful of what we saw in this last 6 minutes and 36 seconds of last night's game for the Suns. All right, this first play here we're going to see is just some of their 77 action, and we're going to run this one through and then kind of zoom it back out as we look at the finer details of it. So we got Chris bringing it down the floor. We got Devin Booker screening as the first guy. The attention, the gravity that he brings is going to come into play. Maybe a rep or two after this one on offense, but looking here at CP3, as he's coming off, who do we have spaced where? So obviously it's DeAndre Ayton screening and rolling. On a strong corner, we got Landry Shamet, so of course they're naturally not going to help off of the strong corner. And then on the backside, we got Kevin Durant, spaced, not involved in a direct action, not even on the strong side, spaced on the weak side. This is putting the low man in a compromising situation. He has to make an astute decision, and whichever one he does is going to be a direct counter. And even zooming in even more, looking at the coverage from Josh Giddey, who's guarding DeAndre Ayton here, he's in a short drop, not necessarily up to touch, but he's up near the level of the screen, and then he's immediately retreating. All of this doesn't even matter, though, honestly, because when Chris comes off of this pick, as he said multiple times before, the first thing he's reading, especially once he turns the corner, he's not reading the coverage defender more often than not, and he's also not even reading, obviously, the man that's in his rear view or on his hip. He's reading the low man. The low man's going to give him the answer to whatever questions he might be processing in real time. And the fact that the low man peels in and literally turns his hips and back to the corner tells him everything that he needs to know. They're overloading on Aiden's roll. His roll gravity is coming into effect. And by nature of that, Chris, and you can look at the timing to give even more of an indicator of what Chris is looking for, to give him a clue for what decision to make. As soon as the low man completely turns his hips and commits to tagging the roller and sinking in here, that's when he whips this skip pass across the floor to Kevin Durant, and he's able to catch and shoot after manipulating the low tag and knocks that down. All right, the second rep here is going to come. It's the exact same play. We got Devin Booker ghosting the first screen in 77. And now we're going to see Josh Giddey here. Last time he was just a little bit below the level. Now he stepped up literally on the hip of DeAndre Ayton as he goes to set the screen. And then he's in his retreat steps after that to kind of try to sink the space, put a little bit more pressure, and try to speed up the process of CP3. To no avail, nonetheless, because, again, as we mentioned, Chris is not reading anything but the low man in these situations. This time it's Lou Dort. He's gapping off of Durant early on that opposite block, as you can see here in the corner. They got the same spacing as they had on the last rep. And as Chris comes off, he's patient, and as soon as Lou Dort gets 2 feet into the paint and starts to turn his hips to gear up for tagging the roller and taking that away, again, whips a fireball, a fastball, skipping that over to the corner to Durant for another look, looking a lot like the last rep that we saw. And KD cashes in for his second three-pointer. Again, Kevin Durant not even being involved on the strong side or the primary action, just as a catch-and-shoot guy. And Devin Booker essentially being a decoy ghosting into action. This is the prolific potential that I've been hoping to see from the Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton pick and roll. Whether they get a direct score out of that two-man action or if it's Chris playmaking out of that to manipulate and help defense that's to come. And that's what we saw in those first 2 reps. And then here we're going to see a botched switch here at the mesh point between Landry Shamet and CP3. Shamet, I don't know if there was no communication from CP3 here or if Shamet wasn't paying attention, but it got a little bit of a slip out here from Isaiah Joe. And because of the action that's going on in this middle third and where Chris is, that lends me to believe that Shamet should have been sticking and then popping out as Joe popped out, as Shea drives directly into CP3, as we see here at the opposite elbow. Nonetheless, as that's happening and it's a little miss up at the mesh point, look at the rotation from Devin Booker. He's on high alert. He's able to run off the best three-point shooter on the Oklahoma City Thunder, especially on the floor at the moment. Runs him off the three-point line, does a great job doing that, and also keeping him to his weak hand. All very astute. And then also look at the rotation, as you can see as we go back out and then zoom back in. So we got the rotation from Devin Booker, who's on high alert. In addition to that, we see Kevin Durant navigating his pin-in screen here to go over and take over for who was initially Devin Booker's man, now in Lou Dort, who's in the corner. So there's a triple switch that occurs. We got the 1 switch from Devin Booker, then we got the 2 switch from Kevin Durant, and then taking over for KD's man is Landry Shamet, who rotates over, recovers, and then does a great job along with Devin Booker getting his hand in there just to mess up the flow here for Joe as he gets to the basket and he misses the layup. Just good rotations, cleaning up after they messed up the initial switch there at the beginning of that play. And then we go back to the offensive side this time. We got 77 action again. Devin Booker goes to the first screen. The personnel is a little bit different. This time it's SGA that's on DeAndre Ayton. But look at where SGA is compared to where Giddey was to start the play. Giddey was up to touch, if not near DeAndre Ayton's hip on the screen. This time, SGA is sagged off a little bit more, meaning it's more so like a drop. And then Chris is going to get deeper in. And as he does that, comes around the corner, he already sees that Shea is peeled back and Lou Dort is not conceding as the low man. Again, the main read being the low man. The low man is not peeled in, so that means the short roll is going to be there. And the short roll is there because of Devin Booker coming off the little ram screen and then before he goes the first screen in the 77. By nature of that and the gravity he has moving around the floor, his man's not even in the play. Like usually there would be nail help here to kind of take away this early short roll look, but because of the space and manipulation from the Suns with Devin Booker being the first screener cleverly and then moving out to the wing after that, a little bit outside of the slot, the high slot, that opens up this free throw line area on the short roll for DeAndre Ayton. Chris reads this and processes it perfectly, hits him with a very timely bounce pass that they can't even get a contest on hand-wise, and Ayton's able to finish this. All right, this next rep here on defense, look at the switching here from the Suns. Everything is on point. They're aggressive switching. There's no soft switching going on right here at all. This is ATO, by the way. They end up getting what they want, and SGA having an opportunity in the middle third with space as they kick it back to him on a boomerang for him to reset. And he's going to be going one-on-one with Kevin Durant. You can kind of see him pointing out directions for everybody else around the space and just to give him enough space to attack. He's going to try to get into the body of Durant, but this is the dynamic that Durant brings to the defense because he's not, by far, not a bad isolation defender. He's good moving his feet, good playing and read and react, and he's also good not fouling. SGA gets into his body. Instead of reaching here, which would be definitely called a foul, especially after how we saw with the whistle that SGA gets, he does a good job just absorbing the contact, taking it to the chest, continuing to move his feet, and as he sees SGA pick up his dribble, with Kevin Durant's wingspan, again, being 7'6", he's able to eat up the separation and get up a very good contest on this shot from SGA. And he's able to get that stop there. All right, and then the next rep, they're going to get back into their Ram 77. So we got the Ram screen from DeAndre Ayton. We got the ghost screen from Devin Booker. The actual screen from DeAndre Ayton. However, look at the difference in defense now for Oklahoma City. They're still in small ball as they were in the earlier reps. But now it's Jalen Williams, wing Jalen Williams here. He has more length and athleticism. He's also closer to the pick Up to touch, as you can see as I still frame it here, kind of like Josh Giddey was. And in addition to all of that, his length just kind of throws off the read for CP3. And in addition to that, it's aided by Chris jumping. He usually never leaves his feet to make a pass. And the fact that he does that in addition to the length that Jalen Williams has, that ends up resulting in a turnover. Good defense from the Thunder there. All right, this next rep again, we're going to see sideline out of bounds. Pay attention to the defense here from the Suns. So we got Devin Booker containing. And again, another thing with Kevin Durant is when he's involved in pick and roll defense or defense in general, he never overhelps. A lot of times you'll see somebody overcommit here, and if they overcommit while DeAndre Ayton is out of position, that's going to be an easy dump off, or it's going to be an easy offensive rebound opportunity. Because Devin Booker is, first of all, staying attached to the ball, in addition to Kevin Durant not overhelping, they're able to keep the defensive shell intact, and they have to kick it back out even after getting a paint touch. All paint touches are not equal. This is a paint touch, but there's no true threat to the basket here. So they don't have to overcommit defensively. And then we're going to see DeAndre Ayton get into a solid closeout. Again, it's Josh Giddey, so you're not running him off the three-point line. Give him a short closeout. Good job from DeAndre Ayton here, understanding with game plan discipline. And now we got Josh Okogie one-on-one with 4.3 seconds left against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. In addition to that, though, look at the gap help from the Suns. I mentioned Kevin Durant's IQ defensively. Look at him now following Jalen Williams back over to the other side of the floor late in the shot clock. He stays on the strong side, gives help from the block here as you see him 2-9ing on the baseline on the strong side block there. In addition to that, again, I mentioned DeAndre Ayton being on the non-shooter. He's also conceding this shot to Giddey by helping over and taking away that inside gap going towards the middle of the paint from SGA. All of that help, again, late in the shot clock, forces a quick decision. They end up getting it over to Giddey. Again, not a shooter that's a threat to that extent. Late in the shot clock, he has to put one up. And then Chris does a good job getting a solid contest up again without fouling. And the Suns put forth yet another stop. They compile another good stop off of good discipline and game plan discipline. All right, and in this next rep here, we're going to see more defense here. So the Suns go with another switch. Devin Booker does a good job containing the ball. DeAndre Ayton is sunk in here. As you can see, he's guarding Giddey again. Giddey clears out to the corner. You're going to see Lou Dort with CP3 zoned up on 2 here, setting the pin in. But he's doing a good job staying on the inside. Again, it's Josh Giddey. If they're going to kick it out to him to shoot, they will live with that. So going back to the main action, Devin Booker contains. Ayton's there peeled in early to show help in rim protection. Kevin Durant's length allows for him to go from nail help on this middle drive to then running Isaiah Joe off and forcing him to make an extra pass. And again, look who has the ball again. It's Josh Giddey, this time with 10 seconds on the shot clock. DeAndre Ayton is very disciplined in his rotation, in his closeout. Again, not closing out too far the way he can be blown by, but he's also down in the stance, and he's very much under control. And now that forces Josh Giddey to make another decision, and DeAndre Ayton's able to stay disciplined with the closeout and recover stop here as he slides his feet to contain the ball, good angle, absorbs the contact, takes away this look at the basket. Again, all paint touches are not equal. There's no true threat to the basket there. Keep the defensive shell intact. Devin Booker is able to stay solid again, in addition to some late clock help from Okogie, understanding the situation. And the Suns get together and compile another stop. And then here they're going to play off of a double in the half court. So they were sending these doubles at Devin Booker pretty much the entire game, which we'll talk about probably sometime tomorrow. But we see Devin Booker get off of it quick. Boomerangs back to him. And now we're going to see them start playing off of advantages that their players just create by being on the floor. So now they send a double team from Okogie. Initially it came from the middle of the floor from from SGA. Then it bumps over to Dort. And then now SGA is going to help off of Okogie again, this time coming from the corner. Good patience from Book, good middle flash again. The way to beat a double team is by putting pressure on the middle of the floor and then playing out of that. So they hit the middle of the floor here as Okogie flashes astutely, and then it bings over, and then Kevin Durant is able to beat the rotation off of the quick pass from Okogie. Kevin Durant looks off this corner, and then he's able to hit Ayton quickly. Good pump fake and patience generally from the Suns, and especially from Ayton to finish it, and they get a basket again in crunch time. The process is on point from the Suns. And then on this play here, we're going to see a good poke from behind from SGA. Just good defense. Devin Booker didn't do anything wrong necessarily. That's just a good defensive play. But look at the level of competition and just generally competing on display here from Kevin Durant. This is what he's infusing his team with. We know Devin Booker's a dog. We know CP3 is a dog. We know Josh Okogie's a dog. And we know DeAndre Ayton has dog in him. That fifth starter, Kevin Durant, coming out and doing this just a couple games removed from an injury that kept him out for 2 weeks. And then, again, also them having the lead here. This is just like a microcosm of the corner that this team is starting to turn in terms of having so many different types of competitors. And again, this coming from your best player really sends a message to everybody else. And they were able to kind of play off of the momentum of that the rest of the way. And this next play here, we're going to see them off a sideline, out of bounds, they inbounded. CP3 gets double teamed, and they just kind of respace on the dribble here. Chris is going to kick it back to Devin, and then they're going to start playing in the advantage here. So they send another double, and now they're playing in space. Chris is going to middle drive, and he's going to reverse it back to KD. And again, Kevin Durant, not involved in the primary action or on the strong side, is able to get another catch and shoot to knock down his third one of the game. Just a two-way process from the Suns. Even though they had some mistakes and slippage on defense, they were able to cover up for a lot of it just by keeping their shell intact defensively and just staying locked in collectively. Great communication on both sides of the floor, great execution on both sides. And they were able to get together another impressive win, doing so specifically in the crunch time against the Oklahoma City Thunder on the road.